Inside your head is pretty much the most sophisticated command center on Earth. But have you ever stopped to wonder who's actually running the show? Well, today we're going to take a tour of that command center, your brain, and we're going to meet the powerful department heads who literally create your reality. So let me ask you a question. Who is really in charge of you? I mean, when you think about it, you might picture a single boss, right? A CEO calling all the shots. But the truth is, it's a lot more like a whole boardroom. It's this team of super specialized executives, and every single one of them has a critical job to do, all working together just to make you, well, you. So think of this as your all-access pass. We're about to take a guided tour of the brain's major lobes, and we're going to treat them like the critical departments they are. Let's see exactly how they pull it all off. Okay, our first stop is the big one, the executive suite. This is home to the brain's CEO, the frontal lobe. It's that part of your brain right behind your forehead. And believe me, it is responsible for all the high-level, big-picture thinking. Now, if you want a quick way to remember its main jobs, clinicians use a really simple little memory aid: personality, power, planning, and speech. It's basically the CEO's entire job description, right there in 4 words. Let's break that down a bit. Personality and judgment, that's what makes you who you are. Power is all about controlling your voluntary movements, deciding to pick up that cup of coffee. Planning covers all those executive functions, like making decisions and setting goals. And finally, speech. That's handled by a very special little zone here called Broca's area. So, you might be wondering, what happens when the CEO gets taken offline, let's say by a stroke or an injury? Well, the effects can be absolutely dramatic, especially when it comes to speech. This is where you get a condition called Broca's aphasia. And wow, this really shows you the difference. On one side, you have that easy, fluent speech we all take for granted, but on the other, that's Broca's aphasia. Now, the person knows exactly what they want to say. Their understanding is totally fine. But the words, they're just stuck. They can't get them out. That's why they call it broken speech. And you can only imagine how incredibly frustrating that must be. All right, let's move on to our next department. We're heading just behind the frontal lobe to the parietal lobe. Now, if the frontal lobe is the CEO who plans the trip, this department, this is the navigator. It's like your brain's built-in, high-tech GPS system. And the memory trick for this one is perception, position, praxis. It sounds a little technical, but it really just boils down to this lobe figures out where you are, what's around you, and how you can interact with everything. See, this lobe is constantly taking in all this sensory data, like touch and vibration, and it uses it to build a real-time 3D map of your world. It's tracking your position, where objects are, and it helps guide your skilled movements. Oh, and on your dominant side, it's also the department in charge of tricky stuff like math and writing. Now, because this lobe does such specific jobs, when it gets damaged, you can see some truly bizarre sets of symptoms. One of the most famous is a condition called Gerstmann's syndrome. I mean, just look at how specific this is. A tiny bit of damage in one small spot can cause a person to lose 4 very distinct abilities: the ability to do math, to write, to identify their own fingers, and even just to tell left from right. It's just a wild example of how precisely our brain maps out these functions. But wait, it gets even weirder. What happens if the damage is on the other side, the non-dominant parietal lobe? Well, you can develop a condition where you literally start to ignore one half of your entire universe. It's called contralateral neglect, and the person isn't blind on that side. It's that their brain just stops processing it. They might shave only the right side of their face or eat only the food on the right side of their plate and be completely, totally unaware that the left side even exists. Their internal map of the world is just broken. Okay, next stop on our tour is the temporal lobe. You can find this one on the sides of your head, right around your temples. Think of this place as the brain's archives. It's the library, the sound studio, and the language center all rolled into one. The key functions to remember here are hearing, memory, meaning, and emotions. As you can tell, this department handles some of our most deeply human abilities. So, the temporal lobe is where you process sound. But even more importantly, it contains the hippocampus, which is crucial for forming new memories, and the amygdala, which processes our emotions. And get this, just like the frontal lobe has a spot for producing speech, the temporal lobe has Wernicke's area, which is all about understanding speech. And this slide really nails the difference between the two big types of aphasia. Remember, Broca's aphasia was broken speech? Well, with Wernicke's aphasia, the person can speak fluently, but it's just a meaningless jumble, a word salad. And here's the kicker. They can't understand you, and they have absolutely no idea that what they're saying makes no sense. Our final stop takes us to the very back of the head, the occipital lobe. And this might just be the most specialized department in the whole headquarters. This is the visual data center. Its one and only job is vision. Yep, the mnemonic couldn't be any easier. Vision. That's it. This entire huge chunk of your brain is dedicated to one thing and one thing only, processing every single thing that your eyes see. So, as you'd expect, damage here can cause blindness, but it can also lead to one of the most mind-bending paradoxes in all of neurology, Anton syndrome. This is where a person is cortically blind. Their occipital lobe just isn't processing vision anymore, but they are 100% convinced that they can still see. Their brain literally makes stuff up to fill in the blanks and denies the blindness altogether. It's incredible. So, we visited the 4 major departments. Why does this tour even matter? Well, for doctors and clinicians, understanding these different jobs is like having a map of the brain. It lets them see a specific symptom and trace it right back to the source. And this table right here shows you that power in action, a sudden, dramatic personality change. The first place they're going to look is the frontal lobe, someone ignoring one whole side of their body. That points straight to the parietal lobe. Fluent but totally meaningless speech, temporal lobe. A specific kind of vision loss. You guessed it, the occipital lobe. It is a fundamental tool for figuring out what's gone wrong. In the end, this little tour shows us something really profound. These different lobes don't just, do tasks. They work together to build your entire reality. Your personality, your map of the world, your memories, the very things you see in front of you. So the final question to think about isn't just about anatomy. It's about the very fabric of our lives. What happens when the architects of your reality start to break down?